Oswald, you can see the signs of Eichholm in the distance. You've been walking and maybe riding some of the way in sort of midwinter on this journey from your own settlement to Eichholm here in Valiland. The journey has been pretty pleasant considering that it's early winter. So it's been cold and snowy as you would expect. You've managed to avoid most of the blizzards and like true unpleasantness. So you've had days of fairly pleasant walks in the snow along what they consider to be roads here in Valiland. You would kind of scoff at that because they're much nicer where you're from. You have been sent here to the seat of Jarl Ragnvald Arnson, whose name I'll put in the chat so you can put that together. So you've been sent here to the seat of Jarl Ragnvald to, as a favor, basically, a favor owed from your Jarl to this one, to try and heal his sick daughter. She has been unwell, and yeah, it's part of the promise. So you've been walking towards, you can see the town in the distance with its palisades, and you can see some farmsteads and stuff here on the outsides. What are you thinking as you approach Eichholm?
I'm thinking that it has been far too long of a journey, and I could use a good bed. Thinking that he's going to do his diligence, repay the debt, and then head back north, where he's used to kind of a more of a luxurious lifestyle.
For sure. Yeah, it feels frontier-ish to you out here. This is not like the center of Valiland or even along the coasts and the rivers where like most of the money is. This is like forested sort of, yeah, none of the grandeur of where you're from. It's called Eichholm is the place that you're going. You're walking through this part of the forest and the road is like cutting clear through. You're like crossing the stone bridge across a stream. And you think for a moment you see something in the corner of your eye. Could you make me a perception check, please?
That would be 12 on the die, 13 total.
So yeah, you like cross this little stone bridge and you like look to your left and then to your right, and you can see in the tree line, so maybe like 4 or 5 feet behind where the forest starts again, there's a wolf sitting there. It's got its head turned to the side and it's watching you as you walk.
Have I seen many other creatures on the road to here? Are wolves scarce?
You wouldn't have seen like wolves, and it would be unusual to see a wolf like this on its own, kind of watching you like this. It's not traditional wolf behavior.
I will keep my course on the road, but casually string my bow as I'm riding.
Yeah, you can kind of keep an eye on it every now and then. You'll see that it doesn't move from the tree line there. It just watches you as you ride the rest of the way through these woods. It doesn't follow. It doesn't like make any sort of movement or attack or anything like that. And it's another maybe hour before you like leave this forest and the road running through it. And you can see Eichholm itself, and you can like enter into the town where you're welcomed by some villagers. Siggegnir, you've been standing in the courtyard of Eichholm with Odd. The two of you have been watching this platform get built for the sacrifice that's going to take place tonight. It is going to be Dauðurblot, which is a sort of festival to give thanks to the dead, to basically ask them to help with upcoming hardships in the winter. So you can see these people going about their business. Now, the vagaries of the gods are not really your speciality, Siggegnir, but nonetheless, you can watch them get like busy and yeah, get to work. It's a very important event. They've built up this platform. You can see that there's like they've made an effigy of Jarl Valley, the first Jarl Valley, whom after this land is named, to sort of burn it and give thanks to the ancestors who came before. So you've been standing here for some time with the light snow sort of falling with Odd. What are you guys thinking and doing?
I think that Sigagnir is just kind of standing, not entirely at rest, but not tense either, just watchful, looking over Odd, just kind of at everyone who would walk by, taking very little to no interest in what is being built.
Odd is sitting on the ground, closest to Yagnir. She is kind of just squatting there looking around. Occasionally she'll stand up and just walk in a circle, almost randomly, looking at something or walking around something and staring at it. She doesn't speak to anything, and she seems a good deal more interested than Sigagnir is, but she doesn't vocalize why, and a lot of her mannerisms just kind of strike out as, what is this woman doing?
Yeah, I think that Sigagnir long ago has learned not to ask what the particulars of what Odd is doing is, and just kind of standing there, just carefully watching her and everyone else.
Thorstein, one of the other men of the Jarl, he'll approach and he'll like lean at the building next to you, and he'll like grab his crotch and spit as he like looks at the platform being built. I know it's supposed to be a holy thing, but to be honest, it freaks me the fuck out. Rituals, killing. He wants you to get the witch.
Odd's head turns slowly, and when she stares at him first with her stone eye, and then again with her normal eye. And then she looks over to Sigagnir and she says, "Let us go."
Yeah, Sigagnir just eyes the man for a minute, and then just kind of turns and follows Odd.
Yeah, you'll see Thorstein like look at the platform with some sort of like foreboding in his expression, like he's uncomfortable with it. And you can make your way towards the woods where you know the witch dwells. Astrid, you're in the woods near Icombe, and you've been tracking a doe for the past few hours. Your hound has remained silent at your side. He's well trained. Wouldn't give away your position, and your hawk has been circling above. You followed it for some time through the woods that are basically your home, where you spend more time probably than the village. And you can follow the trail past these ancient trees and see there's a little flowing stream that hasn't frozen over, and the doe has stopped there, looking around to see if it's safe to take a drink.
So Astrid would kind of crouch down, watching the doe with like her hand on her hound to make sure that he doesn't move too quickly or start for the doe, and draw her bow and take aim.
And your hound looks at you like, "Can I go? Can I go? Can I go?" This like frantic look, because you can see the doe not far beyond, but he knows not to move.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, as you said, he's well trained, and so she knows not to loose the hound until after the arrow's gone, so that it doesn't move at a crucial moment. And so, going to try and shoot the deer.
Okay, go for it.
Yeah. With an 18.
So you like pull back the string, and there's like just for a second you fire, and it sails true, but it moves before you even get a chance to. It has bolted, like as you're pulling back and breathing in, it's gone, and you like suddenly can see the reason why. Your hound has like crouched down, and its tail is between his legs, and he's like whimpering. There's a wolf in the tree line just beyond where the deer had been, sitting there. It's not moving. It's got its head turned to the side. It's like looking at you as the deer flees.
And it's not really moving or reacting any other way?
No, it's just sitting there. It's got its head kind of cocked to the side, as if it's listening or something.
And I think Astrid's kind of seen some interesting things in the woods around here, and as long as like the wolf isn't doing anything but watching, she's just going to kind of silently watch it back and scratch her hound behind its ears to keep him calm and wait for the wolf to leave.
Yeah.
If it does.
Your hound is nervous. You can tell he wants to leave. He wants to go, though he's also afraid to take his eyes off the wolf. And you'll sit there for maybe 5 or so minutes as the wolf just like watches like its head to one side, and then it will like turn to the other side until eventually it will like stand and like stretch and like yawn, like shake its fur free of some of the snow, and then pad away back into the woods.
And a little disappointed that I won't be able to take back any fresh deer for the ritual later. She will continue on her way in the opposite direction.
Sure. Theodhild, you're in your hut, around outside of which the snow doesn't seem to fall as heavily. It's a little bit more melted, and there's greenery still visible around this hut, somewhat odd considering the coldness of the forest beyond. And you've seen a few times now over the last day or two this phenomenon with the wolves. You've noticed it once or twice as you've been like gathering herbs or mushrooms and things of that nature. You would have seen these seemingly the same wolf sitting in the tree line, watching, not moving, not acting, but watching. And now, as you like take your sickle and you like gather up some of these herbs from the underneath the snow, you can see it again looking at you. Its head turned to the side.
Theodhild, still crouched, she looks up to the wolf. She stares into its eyes, her own blue piercing eyes, gazing into the dark amber ones of the wolf. And I imagine it's almost like a staring contest, an act of dominance between these two. She doesn't move a muscle.
It doesn't seem to be aggressive, actually. It's kind of watching, and it engages in this sort of staring contest the way that animals will tend to do, though it doesn't snarl or bark or anything like that. It just kind of watches. It seems interested as opposed to like dominant or like trying to mark territory. It'll just watch you about your work. And if you like move, it will remain just watching, turning its head from side to side.
And she, after the moments pass, she glances up to the bark of one of these trees. She sees the swirling patterns she's drawn on it, these symbols of protection and other esoteries. She retreats slowly back beyond her gathering spots. She retreats back to her hut. The lush greenery meeting her feet, her sandaled feet and booted feet. The horse kind of neighs as she brushes the snow from its mane. Her horse that she has barely remembers where it came from, but it's been a trusty companion in these years of solitude. She goes to her hut, back to the hearth, puts more logs onto the fire, keep it going, and begins to brew her teas and other medleys and remedies.
Yeah, you get the sense as you kind of like set about your business and like begin to cook and like boil and grind and various things. That sense that someone is watching or something is watching, and I think you feel that connection with the wolf again. Back in Icomb, Asvald, you've like arrived, and this sort of grim-faced man with like a leather sort of face mask inscribed with sort of flowing designs. He's got an axe at his belt and a shield across his back. He'll approach, like look up to you. Uh-huh.
What is it?
Who are you?
I am Asvald. Astarthur.
What do you want, Oswald?
I am here on business. Lead me to your Jarl.
He like folds his arms. Kind of business.
The kind where my horse will kick you in the face if you don't move.
All right. Follow me. He'll like lead you through the village past. You can see busy people who are like at work building this platform, and you can see, as I described earlier, this like effigy of a man, and you know that it's Dauðurblot is happening soon, sort of in this midwinter, a festival to celebrate the dead, and you can kind of ride past that and like lead up a hill to this longhouse, where you'll be asked to disarm.
And then, do I know this is normal for the?
For sure. Yep.
Yeah, he'll take all his things and put them into his saddlebags, kind of lash them to the side of his horse, and then he'll head inside. Is it tradition to leave everything, even like a boot knife or anything like that, or?
Yeah, so it's traditional not to bring weapons into Longhouse because that way if a fight breaks out, nobody dies. But also it's just like polite not to be armed when you're like treating with the local ruler.
Yeah, absolutely. If that's normal tradition, then he has no problem with it.
So we brought in to this longhouse, and you can see that it's nowhere near as like full or as warm as the places that you're used to. There's a couple of like Huskarls who you think are well beyond their useful years. Like you see gray hair and sort of older bodies as they kind of sit around and drink and grumble, and they like look up in your direction and like incline their heads, and you can make your way past them. And the man who is with you will announce you to the Jarl. You'll see a man in his 40s. He's got like a salt and pepper beard and long hair. He's got like this circlet around his head, and he'll like look up from his work. He has a little wooden thing that he's carving, and he'll look up. Asphalt. Oh, Asphalt, the healer.
You should be expecting me.
Yes. Come in. Great. Excellent. Come in. And he'll like stand and he'll like do one of these sort of like come hither gestures, and someone will bring food and drink, and he will like eat and expect you to do the same, like initiating guest rights.
It is a long journey. Thank you for your hospitality. I must say, I have never been this far south. Is your Jarl available?
So he says, "You're more than welcome."
Is your Jarl available?
Yes. So this is him. Sorry, I should have been more clear. So the Jarl had like come and sit with you.
Okay.
Shared the food.
My apologies.
All good.
You must have done something to impress my Jarl for him to send me all the way down here.
He's a friend, I suppose.
It is good to have good friends. Tell me, what do you require?
My daughter is gravely ill and has been for some time, and they say that you can heal such ailments. I didn't want to impose upon the... Well, there's a witch who lives in the woods.
And he'll spit. You need not for a witch. You need the All-Father. You need the blessing of the Acer. If your daughter has done nothing to displease the gods, she will be fine. I will see to it. Thank you,
Oswald. And he'll like raise a mead horn and drink with you. Sigegnir and Odd, you've been like walking through the woods along this like path that you know leads to the witch. You've probably been here once or twice before, maybe, which is why they sent you again. And And you can see like this cottage up ahead, more of a hut really. But you'll notice as well that like the snow doesn't fall as thickly around it, that it's a little bit greener around this hut, that there's like a very calm horse outside. Though you will see as you approach in the tree line, this wolf that's sitting and just looking at the hut. Although as you kind of approach, it will turn to look in your direction.
Odd stops walking, and she looks at the wolf with her one good eye, and she stares at it for a moment before, with one tattooed hand, she reaches up to her back and slowly withdraws one of her 3 spears that she has carried with her. And then she whispers to Sigignir, "Wolf."
Sigignir just kind of nods and just kind of spits, just because he doesn't like the look of this wolf. It's not acting natural. And of course, it wouldn't be being near a witch. And he too would take out one of his spears.
It'll turn its head to the side and then like do this like dog yawn, this like big, and like stick his tongue out as he like yawns and like looks and blinks a few times in both of your directions.
I imagine it's like a branch that's like cutting through like the vision line, right? And then like almost like the camera is looking from the perspective of the wolf. A raven lands directly on that branch, filling up its sight, and it beats its wings, and it calls out, "Loki, Loki," to the wolf before it picks back up and flies over to where Odd is and lands on her spear. She then turns and looks at you, Sigignir, and she says, "All Father has spoken. Let us not waste time with the trickster."
Fine. So we're here to kill the witch, right?
No. Bring back for Blot, you know this.
I don't see why. I need her. And her. And he spits again. Foul magics.
Odd puts away the spear, and the raven takes back off into the skies, going somewhere that Odd doesn't track. And she looks at you, Sigignir, with her one missing eye, not the good eye, the missing eye. And she says, "All Father has taught this one something that the Jarl thinks is useful. We will go bring it back, and through her the All Father's will be done."
He just kind of nods once at you, but you can see that maybe his sword hand begins to just twitch a little bit.
Odd notices this twitch, and she's very well aware that everyone in Iskloft virtually hates skags, right? They're disgusting, they're despicable, they killed the king, well, the former king. But Odd is someone with one foot perpetually in that zone of weird that Iskloft has half died in, right? And so she doesn't twitch, she doesn't feel anger at this, and she knows the Allfather is with her, so she feels no fear either. And so she will bravely just go up to where the hut is and knock on one of the outside walls and wait for Thought-Hill to greet them.
The door swings open after maybe a minute or so after you're slamming on the hut. It swings open, and you can see a young woman stirring at her pot above the fire. "Welcome, come in," she says. Warm your feet by the fire." She does not turn to you.
Odd walks in, not saying anything, and she will just walk to the opposite side of the fire and sit down on the ground and let Sigignir do the speaking for now.
Before Sigignir comes in, he just kind of spits on the ground and holds on to his Milnir, like that's hanging around his neck, and just kind of won't let go of it as he walks into the door.
"I have pastries." And she goes over. She takes a few steps to one of their counters, or little cutting space, or little cook area. These really elegantly twisted breads she's got cooked. You can see there's like flax flour everywhere, kind of in in this little space.
As you're doing that, Fieldhield, Odd is looking around everywhere, with your back now turned. As Odin says in the Havamal, look at every single fucking thing in a place when you go inside of it. Direct quote, no paraphrasing. So she is looking everywhere and just making sure you have no crazy tricks, like poison birds or some nonsense like that hiding in a cabinet or underneath something. And once she's satisfied, she'll look back to you and wait for the pastry.
Sigagnir would just say, "We're not interested in anything you've made, witch."
She, like, this disappointed look kind of just creeps on her face. After she's kind of broken the pastry in half, she's like puts it down on the counter. Again, kind of wipes this flowery hand on one of her folds of her robe. But why are you here? Do you seek the Witch of the Wilds?
I imagine Sayagni is like looking for Odd to say something, but Odd just has half of the pastry, and she's chewing with her mouth open very loudly, like there is a blot. And she'll look to you, Thorhild, after she says that, and she'll say, "Y'all's daughter's sick. Y'all's daughter needs horse blood and the ritual to not be sick. We have come for you."
And then she stands up taller now, as if like the tension in the room has eased, at least for her. She seems very cheerfully, almost optimistic and relaxed about all of this. Oh, well. All right. Is that all? I'll
Yes.
make you can let the Jarl know I'll be there within, and then a appropriately short amount of time of however.
We
far
are
I am.
escorting you back. There is a Loki
Oh.
outside, a wolf watching. Strange. Allfather has already warned me of it.
Very well. After you.
Odd then rises like a slumbering female giant that she is. She steps over the fire. She walks past Sigagnir, and she turns and looks at him, and she says, "You were supposed to do the talking." And then she walks past him outside.
He just kind of grunts and just, "But you do it so well." And he would just kind of wait for Hild to walk ahead of him so he can kind of be a bit behind so he can keep an eye on her.
And as you wait for her, you notice that she's very busy gathering various things from her hut. Things that seem very haphazard. She grabs a bit of this plant here. She grabs this horsehair harp that's leaning against the wall. She grabs some other plants dangling from the roof. She straightens out this cloth around an object on the chairs, and just grabbing basically very miscellaneous things and tucking them in this like bag she has. And it takes a surprising amount of time just collecting all these things that are very, very, very important, obviously by your speed of collecting these things. And I think it almost gets to the point of irritation. It's like, is she buying time? Is she diverting or something?
I think Sigagnir would become impatient, and he would just kind of unsheath his sword, not in an aggressive way, just to have it out, and he just kind of is like looking at it.
I think that click of the unsheath, just like a little bit of it coming out, that inch. Oh, 1 more minute, please. And then after she grabs her big, thick, it's got like this rodent fur big cloak. It's been weaved and sewn by hand by her. She wrapped it around her, this big burlap cloak, or big thick cloak, covering her basically so that only her head is really visible, even then it's very hooded. And she she begins to leave.
So Astrid, as you're making your way back home, you can hear these people thundering through your forest, just the loudest, most ridiculous sort of like, it's obviously a Huskarl, only they move like that, like just this shrunk, 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 like loud clanking of mail and like of weapons jangling, and you can hear them half a mile away as you're making your way back to Icombe, and you can spot these three figures moving. You would recognize the widow and Sigegnir, but also with them is the witch, this witch of the woods, who maybe you would know better than most since you spend more time here. But yeah, you can see them approaching the path to Icombe.
Yeah, more weapons and metal than sense in their heads, stomping through the woods. So yeah, Astrid would veer towards them and like raise her hand in greeting.
I think Kari, your hound, would like rush over to Theodhild and like enthusiastically like nuzzle at her hand.
And likewise, I'd scratch behind the ears and pat him on the back, on the shoulders, and just very affectionate towards this dog. Yeah,
and he would like have that full-on body wag as he's wagging his tail, and like do those little dog noises that they do whenever they get so excited, but they want to bark, but they know they're not supposed to.
Yeah, and break off a little piece of dried meat and open palm, let your dog nibble at it.
Which is exactly what he wanted, and
yep.
Then he'll.
Odd herself doesn't make like any like extravagant greeting, but I imagine the raven like lands on your shoulder, Astrid, and just kind of like pecks at your shoulder a little bit before flying away, which is the closest thing you'll get from Odd as a hello, and she'll just look in your direction and keep on walking.
So the group of you can return back to Icombe, and you'll see that the platform is near its completion as like late afternoon sets in and the sun starts to set. Inside the Jarl's Hall, Asvald, he'll say to you that my daughter has, for the past few months, been sickly and ill, feverish, but shivering. We've tried a lot of things, but none of the usual remedies have worked, and I would be grateful if you could help her.
I will see to it, but it will take time. I will need several things.
Of course.
Give me a man to speak with.
There's a blot tonight. We'd be honored if you did the officiating as a holy man.
What is this ceremony in?
It's Dauðurblot, celebrate the dead. You would know this, Asvald. It's like one of the holidays that would happen. There's kind of one a month. This one in the middle of the winter is to kind of like say thank you and to honor the dead, but also to kind of like ensure that the stocks you have will last and like that you'll make it through the other side of winter, basically.
Very well. If I am here, I will help you. We will make a thing of this.
Good, good.
Tomorrow morning, it will begin. We shall see if the Allfather wishes for your daughter to survive.
So that night, the village gets ready. The platform is arrayed, and there are drums and horns and flames lit in different parts around the platform. Arrayed on the platform, there is a chicken, a goat, and a cow that have been brought in to be sacrificed one at a time to the gods to give thanks to those who have died and who will fight in the final battle, and also the great effigy of the Jarl Valley. The sacrifice is simple. Asvald, you will go up and you will chant to the Allfather and to Freya for their respective houses of the dead, and you will cut the throat of each animal and let the blood drop onto the platform.
Do you want me to make a tradition roll or anything to see like how well the ceremony is performed, or?
Yeah, let's do that.
Because
Yep. So you step up onto the platform, and like there's
maybe I'm a sham.
Yeah, maybe. Yep. So this is to take the chicken and just cut its throat and let the blood drop.
All right, and I have tradition. Thankfully, that's a total of an 11.
Okay, so it's a routine thing. You grab the chicken and you cut the throat. You let the blood drop, but instead of like squawking the way it usually would, it actually makes the sound of a raven. As you like cut the throat and it bleeds out, and you see the audience like look among each other like nervously, and there's like a mutter that goes around. Someone kind of says, "Raven, it's Odin's symbol. It's the All-Father symbol," as if they're trying to convince themselves that this is normal and okay.
How would I interpret that? Is there some sort of do I know that chickens make raven noises when you're sacrificing them to Odin?
They don't. Not normal.
Not normal. Okay.
Nonetheless, like the audience who are like standing for a moment, like the drums falter and then they pick back up again, and you're urged towards the goat.
The All-Father has spoken. Let us continue to listen. All right. So that one's a little bit not as good. 8 total.
Okay. So you like grab this male goat by the horns, and you like pull back and lets out this like bleat, and you cut. There's this hot blood that like over your hand and down onto the thing, and it's like bleeding like crazy, and it like bucks and kicks and will like break away from you and like leap off the platform into the audience. Where it's going to like run forward, and one of the Jarl's soldiers is going to step forward to like get in its way, and it shoves a horn into his stomach, and he like and he's like grabbing at it and like trying to battle it, but he's been like impaled by this goat.
Is Odd here for this?
Yes,
Can Odd spear this
for sure.
freaking out goat? Yeah. Okay. So do you want to take a attack roll or just spear it?
You can just say what happens. Yeah.
All right. Odd, again with a tattooed hand, takes out a spear, and like that, she has speared this thing straight through the side, skewering it entirely to the ground, going all the way through. She then kicks the goat off, and then grabs the man as the horn comes out, and she's going to place the spear in his open hand, and then close his hand around it.
Yeah, his eyes are wide, and he's like in shock, but you can see like his fingernails like driving blood from his hand as he like grips it so tightly, and you can see like his lifeblood spilling onto the ground.
Do not let go. Do not let go.
Is there any kind of like wound wise or anything that Astrid can do to try and heal the man?
It looks like it's beyond that, to be honest. Like the horn went almost all the way in.
Oh, geez. So yeah, just basically eviscerated him in front of everyone.
Yep. There are screams from the audience, and you can see like many of the like parents like putting their hands over their children's eyes and like turning them away from the violence.
So Asvald will do his best to look like this was all part of the ritual. He's going to hold his hand out towards this happening. The other hand holding the dagger up, bleeding kind of down his arm. And he's got his other hand just held out towards it, like as if this is part of the sign. This is part of the ceremony. That this goat running towards that man was some sort of sign.
And then Odd will slowly, still holding this dying man in her arms, go to one knee with him, right, so he can lay on the ground, be somewhat comfortable as he dies, and the Valkyries come for him, and then hold his hand tighter on the spear to make sure he doesn't let go. And she's just going to stare down at him directly into his eyes with her one good one.
Yeah,
and his blood, I imagine, fountains out over her.
Big time, yeah. It's pouring out, and you can see he's like pale, and he's like holding onto the spear as tight as he can, and there's like a look in his eyes of like thanks, as the life drains from him, and it's only seconds before like he goes limp.
This is Loki's doing. This blood must be called off, and she will look up and search for the face of her Jarl.
He looks utterly horrified at this. This is like a big religious festival. These omens are terrible, and he doesn't know enough about the religion to know, like, should you continue and hope for the correct path from here on out? Should you stop in the middle? That seems irreligious. He doesn't know, and you can read that on his face.
Astrid, as a Valilander, like, they're familiar with like the old ways, and like these blots are commonplace in the southern lands, and so she would say it's an ill omen to not finish.
Yeah, if Aswald's still up on the this like raised area, he's gonna just shout out over the crowd, "We must listen to the gods. They are speaking. We dare not interrupt."
Aswald, you get a look from Ald as she stands back up that would send chills down a lesser man's spine. Her single eye stares at you with such venom and such anger that it's nearly overwhelming. And then she turns her gaze back to the Jarl, and then to Sigegnir, and then back to the Jarl, and she says, "Me and Sigegnir saw Loki in the woods. He is playing tricks on us, ruining the blot. If we end it, if we continue it, things will get worse." Sigegnir, and she will beckon for him to speak up about seeing the wolf earlier.
And he would kind of nod. Yes, it was so. The wolf. It was not normal.
I saw a wolf as well by the river when I was hunting doe.
Did it have a cocked head? Did it move?
It did nothing but watch.
Loki. The raven has told me, y'all.
You can see like numerous people in the crowd have like grabbed their crotches and are like spitting to like ward off whatever evil this is. They don't understand it. People are like clutching at amulets. People have like turned their children away from like the violence and the dead man on the ground as his like entrails spill out onto the ground. And the Jarl like looks and he says, "We have to finish it. It's irreligious not to continue."
So, what was the last animal? Was it a cow?
It's a cow, yeah.
So as the cow is brought up onto the platform, Aswald knows that this is looking badly on him, perhaps even. And he believes in fate and in destiny, but he also believes that the gods want men and women to seize that destiny, that fate. And if Loki is trying to mess with this festival, this ceremony, then Aswald will mess with him right back. And so when the cow is brought up, before he drives the knife into it, he will draw a line down the cow's forehead, frost etching his fingers across the forehead of this beast. And I would like to use the rune Izaz, I believe it's pronounced, to keep the creature still.
Okay. Yeah, it stops moving. Like it was just kind of like lowering its head back and forth, like nervously, kind of held in place here. But it like calms.
And I will motion for whoever brought the cow to back away, to leave the rope dangling limp at its side, and then strike the mortal blow. And again, Aswald stands back, his hands up, the blood dripping down them from the dagger. And he will actually take a few steps away, not even looking at the cow, until he believes that it is dead, the river of its life having flowed full. And then he will turn and watch it fall as he releases the rune.
Yeah, you like cut and you hear like the splat of something hit the wood. As you like turn to look at the crowd, you can hear like shouts of and people like shocked to see falling from the cow is not blood, but nails, toenails, fingernails.
Fucking Loki. Odd, thanks. She doesn't react like that, but in her, she's like, fucking Loki, man. Odd shakes her head, picks up the sword-cloven slaughter food that was once this Huskarl, or whoever he was. And she looks at Sigegni and she says, "Get the goat. We're burning both of them." And then she will basically start walking to whatever part of the town we usually have the funeral pyres or whatever. I don't know if we do that outside of it or what.
Yeah, it would be outside the town. There's like a piece of like wood that is not chopped down or anything. It's like kept there.
But before she would go to that, Sigegni, how did she go first?
Sorry, Sigegni would just like kind of grab her, not harshly, but just to get her attention. And he would just hiss under his breath, "This is a sign. It's because of that witch."
Odd leans in until her lips are just barely half an inch away from your ear, Sigegni, and she says to you, "Only a fool falls for Loki's tricks. It is too easy to blame the witch, and everyone else here will find that too convenient, as he would want."
Are you guys speaking loud enough for Astrid to hear? Since
Yeah, I'd love to know if we hear this witch.
I don't know if Sigegner was speaking loudly, but Odd whispered.
Yeah, I think Sigegner was like, he would hiss this. It would come out as like just this very low, almost like a growl hiss, because he knows that if he says that, it's going to cause an uproar, something that isn't needed, and he would refer to Odd with these kind of situations, though he is not afraid to say that he is not happy about it. But he would just nod and let go of her and just, "I leave this to you." And he would start towards the goat.
There's like these nails flowing forth from the cow, which like will hit the ground when you let go of the rune. And you'll see like that from the throat cut. There's just like nails, like fingernails, human fingernails and human toenails like spilling forth as if it was blood and like pooling around the cow.
This is indeed an ill omen. Perhaps it is Loki. Perhaps something else has befallen this town. I know that witch. I must consult the gods. I seek to know answers. Tell me, does anyone among you know what would cause this? Have any of you angered the gods?
You must be cursed. Somebody shouts from the audience. This never happens.
Then I will leave, and the Jarl's daughter will die.
You can see the audience are like beyond caring about the Jarl's daughter. They've seen a cow bleed fingernails, and they don't understand. Like they think that you've come in here and done sorcery of some kind. And there's like panic among them. You can see like many of them are like taking their kids and like going back to their houses.
I think like
go ahead.
I was just gonna say like Astrid would then I'll leave and the Jarl's daughter will die. She's thinking to herself as like, well, if he heals as well as he performs blots, then perhaps the Jarl's daughter is better off. But she doesn't say this.
Odd will find the family of the man who died and leave the body with them for a moment. And then I imagine she's still half covered in blood. She will go and find you, Thjothild, and she will look at you and she will say, "Go into the longhouse with the Jarl. Do not come out or you will be killed." And then she will walk over to the Jarl proper, Vargold, and she will say to him, "You should have sacrificed a horse. Would have been better. But I'm going to take the body of the man and the goat and go burn them on the pyre, and then the cow and the pig."
His eyes are like wide, and he's like looking around, and like he's like lit by the flames, and he just doesn't know what to say or what to do. Like well above his pay grade, he's just like looking around, confused and frightened, and he doesn't know what to like tell the audience in the crowd to calm them. He just kind of like nods slowly as you tell him what you're going to do.
Odd is not very charismatic, and so she looks at the crowd and she knows that she can't speak to them. She can say no speech that will ail their hearts. So fix their hearts, I mean. And so she looks back to the Jarl and she says, continuing on, "I have brought the witch. The witch is not to blame for this, but the witch will help you in theory. So I guess if you want to say in theory, the witch will help you, she would just say. And then she'll point the witch out, and then she'll say, Loki will want you to kill her. I do not think that is wise, my Jarl. And then she'll give like a curt like shoulder bow, and then go to do the business of the burning of the animals and the dead body.
I imagine like the crowd parts and everyone looks in the direction of Theodhild, just like this tiny little figure just bundled up and like her body and form and her face obscured by this thick cloak. And just, she has like the bridle of her horse in her hand. And it's just this awkward silence of just the crowd just watching and looking at her. And she would be lying if she said that she wasn't scared right now. She's always been wary of this town, of the many towns bordering her woods. And she does not know what to do. So she just stands there.
Yeah, I think that Sigegnir would just, he would have like a goat in one hand, like kind of held up, and he'd be like holding on to his amulet at the same time, but he would just say out, he says, right, this ritual's over, everyone back to their homes. There's nothing more to look at here.
You can see like the crowd are like looking, and they've like been shouting at Asvald that it's his fault, that, you know, he's the new thing here. He's like come here and he did the blot, and now cows are bleeding fucking fingernails, and there's like anger. And then as like you say that, they turn and like some of them look at Theodhild. You can see that there's like this like knife edge of like someone saying it was the witch. Like the second that happens, there's going to be like wildfire, but no one speaks yet.
Speaking of which, if Asvald hears the word witch at all and can see Theodhild, what is your name?
Theodhild.
Theodhild?
Theodhild.
Theodhild. All right. If he can see Theodhild, he would absolutely just bellow out, "A witch? You blame me and you bring this creature into our midst? A thing wreathed in rats."
Odd interrupts you halfway through your sentence, grabs you by the throat, is going to try and shove you into the ground. I have a... Sorry, let me look again real quick. All right. That is going to be a 22 for me to grapple you.
Jeez. I would say, like, you know, Astrid is going to say, but, like, you know, Odd is, like, already, like, launching herself at Asvald, but, you know, so Astrid, it would be lost in the noise of all of that, but she would say that the witch has been here for years and this has not happened before.
Yeah, I think there's like chaos, and I think that like many of you can see that like if the blame comes to the witch, that something is going to happen here. Definitely, there's like a powder keg, and they're just waiting for an excuse. So then, when you start to speak, Asvald, Odd tries to shut you up. Did that work? What was your athletics?
I'm actually considering not rolling at all,
Sure.
due to the sheer surprise of it.
Dope. So what Odd will do is grab you by the throat, put you on the ground, and then you're going to feel her flint dagger underneath your right eye. And she says to you in a hiss, "I will give you wisdom if you open your mouth again."
There's people in the crowd like looking around now at Odd, who they know. Odd the widow. Odd is definitely a person of Odin, and she seems to be dealing with the person who brought this curse. And you can see many of them like looking around and deciding what they're going to do. Some of them like lose their courage to shout anything about a witch, and they like threatened by Sigegnir's sort of threat, they begin to like melt away.
Yeah, I think as soon as Odd would do that, he would kind of drop the goat and just take out his sword and just kind of stare anyone down who would even think about yelling at anything, but kind of half an eye, like in his periphery, keeping an eye on Odd and Asvald. But I think he knows that Odd can usually take care of herself.
So Aswald will stare right back up into Odd's eye, the one glancing over to the... Is it stone or wood, your fake eye?
Stone.
Glancing over to it once in a while. And you notice there's no resistance from him. He's not fighting. He's laying there in the dirt. This is how you treat a guest? I was asked here by your Jarl.
This is how I treat a
Debt to
wolf
be
son.
paid.
And as you start speaking, she tightens her grip on your throat just a little bit more to stop you. And she says again, repeating herself. And you can tell from the face that she has that she hates repeating herself. But she says, this is how I deal with a wolf's son. If you speak again, you know what will happen. And she presses the flint dagger down just a little bit harder underneath your eye. And then she continues saying, you will go into the Jarl's longhouse. You will sit down. You will drink mead. You will be quiet until I return. She then she loosens her hand on your throat, and she waits for you just to make some sound of confirmation.
He'll spit to the side as quietly as possible.
As you spit to the side, she grabs you by your face, slams your head down, and then stands up, puts away the dagger, and walks away from you. You'll find that you're partially drenched in blood now because she herself was drenched in blood from the dying man, and she just leaves these bloody footprints behind her as she goes to pick back up the corpse, find the family of this guy, and then go burn it on the pyre.
Yeah, they'll follow.
Yeah, Sigegnir will just kind of put away his sword, pick back up the goat, and just follow her.
Yeah, the family of the dead man will follow as well. Theodhild, are you going to go to the Jarl's house?
Yeah, seeing as her escorts have now just abandoned her and the crowd has dissipated, she's in her hand, not holding the bridle. She's juggling these small bone runes, just kind of thumbing them. She's humming to herself, just trying to calm herself down. And she would, now that the attention hopefully is off of her, make her way very, very discreetly to the Jarl's longhouse.
I was going to say, like, if Theodhild, yes, hesitates over long, Astrid would come up next to her kind of quietly and in an aside say to her that, Odd told you to go to the longhouse. It's best not to make her repeat herself and continue on my own way.
And she gives a kind of a sharp nod. No words. She brings her horse and herself to the Jarl's longhouse.
Yeah, there'll be Thorstein standing outside, and he'll see you approach, and he will be too frightened to say anything or to try and stop you. His eyes dart from you to the door, and then he looks at his axe, and then he looks at you again, and then he just leans against the longhouse and doesn't say anything. He looks straight ahead.
And I give him the bridle of my horse as I walk into the longhouse.
Yeah, he takes it. He's obviously very frightened.
And I'm wanting to send the message of more hey, stable my horse rather than here is my horse.
Yeah.
And then I will, enter longhouse. And as I do, I would drop the hood. I see the hearth at the center, and who's in this longhouse?
Yeah, so not many at the moment. The Jarl is here now. He's come back, and there's 3 of his men with him and his wife, who are sitting at the table close to the fire, and you can see the Jarl has his head in his hands, and he's just shaking his head and speaking quietly to his wife, who's trying to console him about what just happened.
Jarl, she says in a kind of a shaky at first, but then she gathers her courage. You've sent for me, and I'm here.
You sit over there.
She nods and sits in the seat. He points out.
Yeah. What happened? That man, he's a man of Odin. He's a Galder. How was it your magic that did this?
It was not I. It would have been much worse if it had been. But trust me, I have been in those woods for many, many years. You've called upon me before. I would not do this to you and your town.
The dead. They must be angry. This is a sacrifice to them, and they refused it.
And is there some kind of like beverage?
Sure. Yeah.
Some kind of, she takes a sip of it. Kind of a very small sip at first, because it's not quite, doesn't taste like the stuff she normally drinks. And then it kind of has a different flavor to it. She takes a bigger gulp. Yes, they are angry. And yes, that man of Odin, he's not to blame here. It is the work of some others, not of him.
Maybe the mounds, the tombs, something. The dead. And he's just like muttering to himself like this stuff about the dead and the tombs that rest nearby. And though he doesn't make much sense, he's just kind of like listing things that could potentially like be the reason here, of which there are millions.
I imagine Teotihuacan almost cuts him off and says, "Jarl, you sent for me. Now I'm here.
Yes.
What do you need of me?"
I will need your help and the rest. We will need to. It has to be the tombs and the Barrowman. Something must have happened there. Some dishonor to the dead that this would happen.
And has Teotihuacan felt any kind of disturbances in the Force, to say the least? Any some weird vibrations in this area about that, or no?
So the actual the tombs that he's talking about, there's maybe a day or so south of here. There's this big sort of ancient field of cairns and stones and mounds where the grand dead are buried. You haven't felt anything specifically.
Imagine, because if they're outside the bounds of her forest,
exactly.
She doesn't really feel much of it.
Yeah.
So she might not actually be very much knowledgeable of these particular mounds, and so I know of them, yes, but I have not felt or seen any disturbances or ill omens regarding them. But nonetheless, I can do as you ask, and then I will return back to my forest.
Yes, they say that you're kind. You Skags, you can speak to the dead. You can ask them why they're angry.
We can speak to many things and ask many things why they are angry. We can speak to others and ask why they're happy. Dead amongst them, yes.
Then maybe you can discover the cause of this.
She takes another sip of this honey mead and lets it kind of sit in the back of her mouth and then swallows it. Very well. I will ask one thing in return. For your men and your serfs, whatever your villagers, your people, to not harass me, please, while I'm within your premises.
Yes. Yes, of course. I will set you a guard if you like.
Have the guard be Sigegnir.
Yes, whatever you
He's a
say.
curious man. I wish to know more of him.
He's one of my most capable. And we switch to the forest where Sigegnir is carrying a dead goat and like grunting as he like drags it through the woods into this like open-ish area where there's a mound, and you can see that there's like many centuries worth of like scorch marks and like burnt ashes and wood here. Odd has led you here with the family of the man and the goat, and with a couple of others, you've been able to like drag the other animals here as well. So that you can send them to whatever is next.
Sigegnir would look to Odd to see if there's any particular way it should be placed, or just heeding her instructions.
Odd lowers the body to the ground. She instructs the family to gather the actual funeral pyre for him, and basically to bring her whatever they can at his flame, what they can find. And as it's being constructed, she'll look to Sigegnir and she will tell him and the others that brought the animals, we will not burn them close to the rest of this. We will burn them closer to the trees. So build a pyre there, put the stones around it to make sure the fire does not spread, and that will be that. And then she will take out her flint dagger, Lloyd, and she's going to start cutting off the fingernails and toenails of this dead man to make sure Loki cannot build his ship at the end of times. And as she's cutting off those, I imagine everyone else is building up the pyres.
Yeah, absolutely. You'll see like one of the children of the man like run back to the village and gather some of his things, some of his like favored things, and will like return and place them in his now nailless hands. Yeah, you can set that up and begin the process of burning this man and sending him to the corpse hole and sending these creatures to wherever they go. We'll take a quick break there and we'll be back in 5.
Excellent.
Hello, I am back. That was weird. You guys said you wanted weird, so weird I have provided. If you're watching and you haven't seen it yet, there's a Kickstarter going on for this very setting, which there's a link probably down there, I think, if I was proactive enough to put it there. So if you want to play this kind of place, you can check out that link.
I'm so happy, Lloyd. It's the first session. I got to do the nail cutting ritual when you burn somebody. Oh, I'm so happy. I'm liking Odd more than I thought I would. So this is
She's got a
good
certain
times.
kind of charm.
Yeah, certain kind of charm. Can't wait until she starts walking around with a cloak of bones, but that's neither here nor there.
Yep. Yep. It's gotta get weird. Imagine you cut a cow and just fucking nails came out of it.
I was gonna say, I feel like it's already gotten weird with the whole nails from a cow's throat, but you know.
I was all like, "Oh yay, a blot! How is this gonna go?"
I'm sure everything will be fine.
It's like, have I ever had a good blot in Iskloft? I don't think I have.
You just happen to be in the places where it goes badly, you know? Like every other village, it went perfectly.
Oh, wait, no. I take it back. There was that one that went really well. Is this, the day after everything went to shit?
Mm.
Like everybody died.
Blame the witch.
Totally saved your life, Connor. So you're welcome.
Yeah, I know. I was like, oh god, I'm gonna die. But I'm looking at my character sheet. I'm like, no, I wouldn't die.
Yeah.
All 50 of them would.
That's when you start getting the skag hunters after you.
Yep. I was tempted to just like bolt off into the woods on my horse, like, oh geez.
Yep.
And then they go after him with pitchforks and torches.
Totally might be my next character, Skag Hunter.
Yeah. But yep, that's the sacrifices go. Never goes well.
I was just trying to imagine. I was just trying to imagine that sound. It would be like, one of like those rain sticks or whatever, of just like nails going across like the wooden and stone floor that just.
Yep. Super fucking gross.
Mm-hmm.
It's like that cow is just a bag of nails.
Literally the most disgusting thing that could have come out of that cow.
It's up there. Yeah.
Like, were they hygienic toenails or were they very, very unhygienic toenails?
I guess if you look at them, you would see that they look like they're from dead bodies.
So very unhygienic.
Like
someone
pulled from the root toenails or like toenail shavings. Ugh.
Someone in Iskloft has not been doing their job and cutting off nails when they burn people, and it is a problem.
We need a PSA.
This is why it's like those little PSAs you get about like, not pouring grease down your kitchen sink because it causes problems later down the line for somebody else. So it's like you cut off the
toenails.
That ends up becoming like the theme of our group. Like we just go from village to village, remind people to cut off the toenails of the dead, and then we move on. That's the whole campaign.
Okay, we are back.
Toe time.
Oswald, you walk into the Jarl's longhouse, and you can see that he's speaking with the witch.
Actually, Oswald would not go into the longhouse.
Okay. Where are you going to go?
He would return to his horse and retrieve his things, and he would stand outside the longhouse until someone either noticed his absence or came to inquire.
Yeah, there's a guy standing outside there, Thorstein, who's one of the Huskarls here. And he would give you this look of like, maybe it was your fault. Maybe it was the witch's fault. I don't really know what. He's just looking at you kind of mysteriously and like untrustworthily. You want to go inside?
When is appropriate? Fetch your Jarl.
You will go to him. He won't come out here to talk to you. You will go inside and talk to him.
What time of day is it, or night?
It's night, middle of the night. Like the sacrifice would have happened somewhere near midnight.
Yeah. Oswald will not enter the longhouse, so he will begin looking for whatever he can determine as the safest shelter in the area. He does have a bedroll. He's been traveling, so he's used to sleeping outside the last couple of days, but doesn't want to, but he believes the tradition and things have been completely upended on him. So, yeah, he won't enter the Longhouse.
Okay. Yeah, so most of the time you would stay with people, like they would give you hospitality. It's like the law basically here. So if you like come to stay in the Jarl's village, he'll put you up in his longhouse. Like that's usually where you would stay. Like in the village, there's not going to be anywhere for you to like shelter because everyone lives in a house, you know. You could like try and see if anyone will let you sleep in their house. Otherwise, you'd have to find shelter in like the woods or something.
Yeah, he doesn't want to, but like he probably will end up doing that if that's what it comes to.
Yeah, this guy Thorstein is like watching you and trying to see what you're going to do.
Like right now, he's trying to get the dirt out of his clothes and his hair after being slammed into the ground. So,
what did you do?
I did what I was asked and received this in payment. And he like reaches up and there's a bit of blood on his cheek from where the dagger was.
The blood didn't go well.
It did not. But before I could find out why, you have mad people among you.
Yeah.
Please inform your Jarl I would like to speak to him. If he is too busy, I understand. And then Aswald will continue to get his things together and find a spot.
Yeah, he'll pop inside and basically shout in. And he'll like nod. And he'll turn back around and say, if you'd like to speak with him, you can go inside.
I will wait till morn. Perhaps he will wish to speak to me when the sun is up.
He wishes to speak with you now. He doesn't want to leave the long haul. It's protocol, you understand?
Your long haul is full of witches and mad women. I will not enter it. My guest rights have been destroyed. I was assaulted during a holy ceremony. You tell this to your Jarl. I will leave in the morning, or he will speak with me.
Astrid, you can see this foreigner standing at the edge of the longhouse, shouting at poor Thorstein, who's just doing his job. And you can see Thorstein is like way out of his pay grade here. He's just like looking at him like, listen, man, if you want to go inside, you can do that. But like, I can't drag the Jarl out here. And he looks confused and he looks nervous. And I guess he would like maybe see you, Astrid, just for a second, like make eye contact as you go about your business. Where are you going?
I would say that she would have been like with her horse Dag and brushing out his coat and stuff because she had left him here while she was out hunting, and so she would have been like off probably near where Aswald's horse was tied up and stuff, just kind of like watching all of this, and so she just kind of take like a steadying breath and walk over to them, and is kind of giving Thor's a sympathetic glance, just kind of like that I'm watching this person on the retail line get abused by a customer, and so here she's giving him one of those glances and kind of comes up next to Aswald and like lays like a hand on his shoulder and is like, the Jarl wishes to speak with you. You can't let odd behavior keep you from speaking to the Jarl. Teohild isn't a threat.
The Jarl will speak with you, Castellano. But you just have to go inside. You cannot expect him to come out here and speak with you. You have to come and speak with him. You know this.
Is the one-eyed Reaver in there?
She's in the woods with the body of the man who died and the family. She will be gone for a while.
Very well. Asvald will return his gear to his horse and step inside, but not before checking the corners around the door as he enters. I mean, he just assumes this town is insane at this point. I mean, there's a witch walking around. There's a half-naked lady attacking him. There's cows spilling out nails. I mean, this is to him. This is an insane place.
Yeah, and Astrid would kind of observe his behavior and offer to go inside with him.
So you two can walk into the Jarl's long hall. You can see that Theodhild is sitting on one side of the hall, while the Jarl and his people are sitting on the other. Although they are having a conversation, like they're definitely not close to each other. Is what you would see when you enter. As I said, like the Jarl is sitting with his wife and 3 Huskarls, but he is conversing with the witch.
Asvald will just stand near one of the pillars, close enough to the fire to be warm, but out of the way so that he doesn't interrupt the conversation. Asvald is not a rude man. He doesn't intend to interrupt the Jarl. He was willing to wait until morning if necessary, but as long as the one-eyed woman isn't in here, he did enter.
Come and sit, he says to you, and to you, Astrid, and like gestures towards their side of the longhouse, while Theodhild sits on the other side.
I imagine there's like a place that Astra is used to taking, and so she'll go over there and with Kari, following close behind her heels.
Asvald will sit very cautiously. He's going to look over towards Theodhild warily, but mostly he's looking towards the door.
And imagine as the hound enters, Theodhild notices, and she kind of like leans over and kind of makes a little motion with her hands at her side. She has a little bit of a not a sly grin, but like a more of an innocent grin, a little smile creeping on her face as the hound walks in.
Yeah, the dog will look at you, Astrid, like, can I go? Can I get the thing?
She'll give Kari a click her tongue at him to let him know that he's free.
Yeah, he'll do so. He'll run over and sit by you for a while, Theodhild.
Yeah, and just scratch his head and pet his back and stuff.
So as you sit, we go back to the pyre that burns now, the animals and the dead man. His family stand and watch, even the children, as he's taken, hopefully, to Valhall.
Odd will not try to comfort the newly widowed widow that's standing beside her, crying. She's experienced this before. She does not wish to indulge in these emotions again. And so once the fire has gotten low, she will make sure the spear has been mainly destroyed because she doesn't want this guy coming back from the dead and killing her one day. And she will look back to Sigignir and she will say to him, I will take the family back to the house. Then I will meet you back at the long hall.
Sigignir nods, and you see that he's just like gripping on to his amulet that he has, and just kind of like almost like just rubbing it between his thumb and fingers. But he turns and heads back to the longhouse.
As she leaves, Odd will take one of her 2 remaining spears, go up to the 3 piles of the animals, stab each one just to make sure they're staying stabbed, and then quickly knocking off the ash, she's going to look at the family and give them a curt bow and say, I will escort you back to your home.
Yeah, the wife is kind of shocked and barely able to speak. It's all happened so quickly, and she'll just kind of like nod. Like tears are like carving down her face where the soot is from the fire, but she'll nod.
I'll also mention, Lloyd, that I did collect the ashes of the husband in a bag. I'll get it to the widow as well.
So you can bring, go ahead.
I was saying after that, I brought them home and everything. I would head to the long hall myself with the Jarl.
I don't think that Sigagnir would head to the longhouse right away. He would wait and just continue to keep an eye on Odd from a distance. And then when she comes back, he would be just at the entrance to the longhouse.
Yeah, Thorstein will like see you and smile, and he'll just say, "Fuck, fucking hell, what happened?"
And Sigagnir would actually just let out this like low chuckle and just kind of shake his head. Women.
He'll just like clasp you on the shoulder as you head into the longhouse.
And Odd will appear just moments later, walk in, not say anything to the guy, give him such a curt nod that it's like her head moves up instead of down, right, Lloyd? And then she will walk into the long hall. And upon seeing the murderer of Ohm, I want to call the dude who got killed Ohm, O-M. Upon seeing Ohm's murderer sitting there waiting, she just gives him a flat, if I could rip out your eye, I would look. And then she's going to sit down and start stripping off the bloody leathers that she's wearing.
It's just like this tense silence that like falls upon the place, apart from like the noise. And the Jarl will say, "I believe the dead must be angry. Something has happened. Something has gone wrong. For them to refuse our sacrifice, it was not measly. It was a generous sacrifice. We don't have much. Something must be wrong. They must be angered."
Astrid nods because she knows that was, a healthy cow and a healthy goat and like one of the largest chickens that was laying good eggs up until now.
Odd doesn't speak, but she does disagree, like silently inside herself, because she thinks it's all just one fool's errand and that Loki is basically pulling one over everybody. But as she puts on fresh leathers and stands up, she looks over to the Jarl, and then she says to him, "You want me to go, yes?"
Yeah, yes, the mounds. Maybe someone who would do such a thing, but maybe someone went and took something or disrespected them, and now the dead are furious. I want you to go, all of you.
"I will take the preparer of the life net," and she will point to you, Asvald, and that's a kinning for killer. And she points to you, and she says, "He will need to redeem himself to the Allfather and the gods for botching the ritual today, and putting the dead to rest will do so." In reality, I feel like Sigagnir, out of everyone, would get this, is that she's trying to bring him with her, so that way he doesn't sabotage her reputation in the village and get her killed when they get back.
Yeah, and Sigagnir. Oh, sorry.
There you go.
Sigagnir is just like staring down Oswald, like kind of behind Aud, kind of like a "you better come" kind of look. Like you really don't have a choice.
And Astrid will kind of like turn to Odd and say, like, "You said that there were wolves and you think that it was Loki. Like, can you blame a man for Loki's trickery?"
"I do not blame him for falling for the trick. I blame him for continuing to fall for the trick. Because as you remember, Astrid, that Odd wanted the ritual to stop, like after 2 animals, and then he went with the 3rd one. And so she just looks at you after saying that, kind of referencing that, and then looks back to him, and then looks back to the Jarl."
Oswald will stand up and call out, "The Jarl said to continue the ritual. The Jarl leads this town, does he not?"
It would have been bad luck to end it early, to have sacrifices prepared and not sacrifice them. It would make things worse.
Aud doesn't argue. She just said we needed a horse. And then she's going to start basically packing up her shit to get ready.
The Jarl will say, Astrid, you know the routes, you know the land, you should take them.
And she just nods. She was prepared for that.
And you will take Theodhild with you.
She nods again, because she was also expecting that.
Theodhild looks up to you, Astrid, like mid-scratch of the dog behind the ear. Kind of a small smile. One of friendship.
You will watch over Theodhild. You will ensure no harm comes to her.
Sigegner would just look to Aud and look back to the Jarl as if he's going to say something in response, but he just kind of sighs and just gives one short nod. I will do my best.
Do you want us to go tonight or in the morning?
You should wait till morning. Traveling by night is dangerous.
All right.
He says it almost like mechanically, like he's like, that's what I should say. But I think you get the impression that he wants this sorted as quickly as possible, but also traveling by night in winter is insane.
Theodhild stands from her chair. There's no reason to fear the night. As she begins to step towards the exit, the entryway of the longhouse.
Aud puts out a hand. Oh, go ahead, Astrid.
I was going to say that she would say that there's no reason to fear the night, but the mounds are dangerous for horses.
And Astrid's like walking, not Astrid, I'm sorry. As Theodhild is walking outside, Aud's hand is just going to lift up and like grab her by the chest and push her back, right? And she's going to look at her and say, Loki's wolves are outside waiting for us. I do not plan on feeding them tonight.
And she's a bit startled by the fact that you touched her and that you were willing to risk touching her, but she does nothing. She kind of just lets you hold her back.
Aud then looks to the Jarl and she says, I will go prepare my painting and my mold. We will leave an hour before sunrise. And then she's going to turn and leave the longhouse.
Yeah, the Jarl will like give a sort of command to say that you should do the same, like make your preparations and that you'll leave in the morning.
Theodhild leaves the longhouse. Is Thorstein still there?
He's outside, yeah.
Yep. Theodhild looks up to him. Where did you take my horse? She asks him, almost like innocently, just. But I imagine there's a lot of fear in that question, or in his answer.
He doesn't look you in the eye. He like looks down at the ground, and he says, "The Jarl's stables."
And she kind of nods, says, "Thank you," and attempts to give him something, a small object in the palm of his hand, as kind of a thank you, a payment. And if he accepts it, it'd be a small, just a stone that's been polished and drawn with various symbols and shades and paints, a protective rune.
Yeah, he would like take it because he feels like he has to. But I think once you're out of sight, he would like briefly look at it, and then he would like put it in the snow and like grab his crotch and spit.
Yeah, and then Theodhild goes to the horse, brushes the mane, and then finds a kind of a mound of hay next to the horse and sits upon it. She pulls out her taggle harpa and plays and just drones in the night next to her own horse. The sturdy bowstring instrument, just this low drone.
Are there any special preparations anyone wants to do before morning?
Aswald will wait to speak to the Jarl, as he's been doing.
Yeah, so at this stage now, I think most of the people would have left. Maybe Sigmagnir's still here, and some of the Huskarls, but it would be you and none of the witches.
Oswald has calmed down some. Since then, he's gotten, as much of the dirt out of his hair as he can. But he will step to the Jarl as politely as possible, inclining his head towards him. Jarl,
Oswald,
what is going on here? This town is madness. Your daughter is sick. The animals, they're wild. They bleed nails. Your women, they are witches and wild ones. You know that my guest rights were violated. I was assaulted during a ceremony. And now they say I must go with them? Am I a hostage? I demand reparations.
Why don't you sit down, Oswald?
He will.
I understand that you are angry. You think that you have been wronged, but none of that was my hand. Odd has been a loyal and sacred protector of this place. And I believe that what she did was done in an attempt to spare the crowd from chaos. I understand that you have been targeted and you believe that your guest rights have been violated, but we have offered you everything that you wished. We even allowed you, we gave you the honor of taking part in the blot. You are sworn to me as a gift from your Jarl, and while you are here, it's only right that you obey that oath. Now, I would like to start this relationship on friendly terms. So I would suggest that this, and he points outside, like the chaos that just happened, that this is behind us, and that from today, from tonight, we can have a better relationship going forward.
Speak to our people, please. Words should not be met with aggression. They were merely words. Aggression is met with Holmgang, and you know it. I will ask it if I am attacked again.
He can't hide the smile that comes over his face. That would be unwise. Odd is gifted by the Allfather. She is terrifying when it comes to war. As well, I understand that you are a proud man. I, too, was a proud man when I was young. Brittle. But now, over many hammer strikes, I have become more malleable, and I understand that pride will get you killed. This is not a threat. This is not an order from me, but I would like it if you could go with them and set right whatever wrong has happened in the Barrowlands.
You know that I will do whatever it is to repay the debt of my Jarl.
Good.
This madness, it is beyond us all. Put yourself in my boots.
I understand that you have come to a strange place and seen strange things. Valiland is known for its strangeness. Above all else, he says with a smile. But this was strange even for Valiland, troubling, deeply troubling, which is why I have brought all of these people together to see what we can discover. Does not sit well with me either to send the witch along, but I believe that she has talents that will be useful. To swallow your pride, Asvalder, and go.
He'll say nothing more, but incline his head again. Yeah.
You have the hospitality of my hall, and I can stay here as long as you like.
Good night to you.
He'll nod and turn back to his wife, and you'll see this look on her face, kind of admiration, and she'll pat him on the shoulder. And so you sleep, maybe some of you don't, and morning will come. What time is it? Maybe this is where we'll call it a day because we play weekly. Yeah, that's what we'll do. So we'll pick it up next week and see what happens in the Barrowmans and all the weirdness therein. Yeah, since we're playing weekly, I'm going to keep these short. I think it's probably for everyone's best. Cool. So thanks very much, guys. That was really fun. Thank you for watching. There's like a whole bunch of you, so I hope you enjoyed that. Check out Iskloft Kickstarter. There's a link below, and pour more hack silver into the horde if you feel like doing so. We'll see you next time. Thank you.